So remember when we all talked about glossing signs, where we write out all the words in capital letters? Remember the fact that it's not going to be in lowercase. When you write ASL and you gloss ASL, it's always going to be in capital letters. So now when we're representing signs in gloss, for example, cat, and these are some signs here for cat, but when you're writing it out, it's going to be all capital C-A-T. For finger spelling, we have to add dashes in between the letters while you're reading it. So it's going to be M-A-R-Y because it's finger spelled. If you're writing your name, that would be the same. And again, these will be all capital letters. Another example is Leslie. It'd be L-E-S-L-I-E. So when you see finger spelling, remember to add the hyphenation or dashes when you're translating it into glossing. So now for non-manual signals and eye gaze. In this example I have here in the PowerPoint, you see the line with a T above it. That means topic. And you'd raise your eyebrows for that. And the sentence is Pro 1, story 1, forget, never. And it's all in capitals. I wonder how you guys would sign it. And I wish that I could see you guys sign it, but I want you to check from the people in your group and then agree on a way to sign it. Whether it's Pro 1 like this, if it's me or you. It is in fact Pro 1, which means me, or a story I never forget. So you can read this sentence and translate it into ASL. So these are different signs we have for translation and transcription. So when you're glossing, you're going to have capital letters again. And that indicates ASL writing. And this is not a translation. It's representing different signs. It's a gloss. Now with transcription, that's different. There's a hyphen within two different words, and that indicates one sign. And that's typically signs that have more than one meaning in English from ASL. So, for example, stare at. You would write it like this, but you would never write stare and the at symbol. That's something that you would never see. The at symbol is an English symbol. And if you're signing stare at me or stare at him or her, that would never happen in ASL. We also have the plus sign. You can sign it these two ways. If you're talking about linguistics, you would understand using the T hand shape for plus. Just pay attention to the context. If you see true plus work, this is how we sign it. And you can write it true plus biz. That's possible. If you see somebody sign mom and dad, which means parents, you'd know when you're glossing it, it'd be mother plus father. And that's equivocal to the sign parents. And that's what I want you guys to think about while you're analyzing signs. What does that specific sign encompass? And then you take that and gloss it out. Now we're moving on to Scott Liddell and Bob Johnson. These are the two men here. And they both worked with Stokoe. The three of them worked together in order to get more information. And Stokoe, Liddell, and Johnson came together. But a fun fact is that Stokoe did not get along with Bob Johnson. There were disagreements that had happened within them, and Scott was kind of an intermediary to help them get along. He was always dealing with the two of them. If it wasn't for Scott Liddell, maybe the movement hold model wouldn't be here today. It wouldn't have been successful. So we're very grateful to Scott being that intermediary between Bob Johnson and Stokoe. He helped them finally get along, work together, and research. It's kind of like this class with the students having different student perspectives, having the linguistic perspective in class. It's important to keep an open mind while we're learning and working together and researching together. So Liddell and Johnson researched signs and found that they had a lot of different components to them. And Stokoe would take this information and document it. And again, Stokoe did have his own thoughts, but he did see a lot and gain a lot from Liddell and Johnson. So here on the slide, you see the word understand, and there is an initial hand shape. That's this S hand shape. And then their final hand shape is when the sign is finished producing. So it's S and then 1. And when you're writing it down, for understand, you would write initial hand shape, and that would be S, and the final hand shape would be the 1. And if you were glossing that word out, you would write all capital letters. And looking at this, you can see whether the S is the movement or the hold, and it's stopped, so that means that the S is hold, and the 1 would be moving. And you'd write it HM. So that shows that model, S1. And you'd sign it like this. So it'd be MH, 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 and you'd know that it's a sign understand. Wait, actually, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. See, you have to pay attention while you're writing this. It's S would be the hold, because it stops. And then 1 is M, so HM. And that's how you would write it down. Hold movement. Because you're holding that S hand shape, and then you're moving the 1 hand shape. And that's this model. And you guys have to practice within your groups and talk about what one sign might encompass. You have to identify those movements or hold. And on page 293 and 294, they have this table. Now moving on to the word throw. It's signed like this, throw. So we have the S hand shape for the initial hand shape. We have to identify whether it's a movement or a hold. I want you guys to discuss that. And you can see that table on page 293. So this is on page 294. I want you guys to talk about it in group, how you sign Navy, starting from the left side of the waist and identifying whether or not there's movement holds, or you can decide that. And that's how we'll indicate whether or not you were in the discussion. Just following the movement hold model. So with the sign Indian, there's different signs, like I'm signing here. This is Indian, on the hands, Indian. And I think this was written in 1999, so it starts from the nose to the side of the forehead. And in this slide, we're looking specifically at location. So this is hand shape. And now we're moving on to location. And you can think of how the hold, movement, hold looks, and then how that's influenced by the location. In Navy, it moves from left side of the waist to right side of the waist. And we can document this. And these are the things that I want you to talk about in your group from page 293 and 294.